Hello, and welcome to part 2 of the introduction to D&D, or Dungeons & Dragons. Last video I briefly mentioned a few things, but today I'd like to give you kind of a better look at the game itself, a more complete rundown. Now I'm Bard with Natural One, and let's get started. So like I said, today will be a simple tutorial, or kind of a how-to video on how to play Dungeons & Dragons. We're going to be answering more of the question, what is Dungeons & Dragons, as if you had never heard of it before. So, D&D was created by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson back in the 70s and published in 1974. I don't know the exact month, but here we go. D&D was also portrayed and referenced to in many movies, television series. To name a few, there were Simpsons, Community, Stranger Things, more common today, and there's been many editions since the 70s, and editions that have spanned from the simple to the advanced. Now, right now we're on the 5th edition. You see the player's handbook that I showed you yesterday, but there are many books with this edition, just like the others before. There are also something called modules that they add with it. It is played generally tabletop with a mess of polyhedral dice. It may seem confusing, but once you get started, it won't be. Most everything is done with the 20-sided dice, also called the D20. You'll see that referenced to many times. You roll for your actions that you as a character would like to take, for example, swinging a sword at an enemy. You roll a D20 to determine whether you hit or not, and as I slightly explained in the last video, sometimes you just don't hit due to your lack of skill, and sometimes you might roll a 1, and we'll talk about that later. Essentially, it's deciding your fate almost as much as your Dungeon Master will, or DM, also referred to. So basically, you can't play the game without a DM or Dungeon Master. He creates the story. Now, he can either buy a module and play with that, and some of them are only level-wise, you're only up to like level 9, or some go up to 15, some go up to 20 or further. But sometimes they make something called a homebrew, which is kind of my personal favorite. It's where you make up the whole world, you make up the gods, you make up the land, the cities, the people in it, and I feel like it's more freedom in that kind of sense, but everyone has a different idea. Whatever the world you are in, or you have assembled, get a group of people, preferably in an environment where you feel safe to be yourself and roleplay, kind of friends or people that you trust, because there's nothing worse than being in a group of people that aren't taking it seriously, that aren't enjoying themselves, because sometimes there's a shy person trying it out for the first time and you want everyone to have a good time. And if you want to play this massive half-orc fighter who's just really gruff and you're a really shy person, it's kind of hard to do so if everyone's making fun of you. Got it? Okay, so players will choose class, background, race, etc. You will have these lovely things called character sheets, and I'll go into more depth of these later because there's so much that has to do with it that adds modifiers, and whether you're really strong or really smart, it all boils down to this sheet, and we can reference to it at any time. Later we're also going to go over combat, dice that go with it, and how different modifiers, like I said, will pretty much change the entire world on how you roll. It's basically all fate. For now, I'll tell you, the world of Dungeons & Dragons can be so much more than a game. To me, I find it kind of therapeutic. See, I lead a stressful life at the moment. Well, that is to say, stressful to others, perhaps, but I'm a happy person. But through this game, I found confidence and happiness, and does that sound crazy? I'd wager that everyone who has ever played this game will tell you the same thing. It can be a place where a quiet, shy person, like I said before, can be a hero that fights the undead for justice and right. They might play a confident paladin who is nothing like them, but with time, I have seen people who have played come out of their shell and begin to act more and more like their characters. They realize that the confidence that they had is more of a skill set that was kind of hiding deep in them the whole time, and it kind of bleeds into the real world. If you can fight a dragon in a game, why not a metaphorical dragon outside of the game? That's kind of my idea of the whole thing. So, in this series, I hope to show you the magical world of D&D, and the world where you can pretty much be anyone you choose, and you'll even notice, like I said, a bleeding effect between the two worlds. It sounds funny, but trust me, once you start playing, it happens. Part of you will enter the game, and part of you will come out of the game in real life. basically through courage, honor, trying to be a better person. All these things can happen in the game. Of course, there are negative campaigns where you can basically be a complete murder hobo and go around and kill anyone you want, but those aren't very fun campaigns for me. I kind of like to roleplay someone I would aspire to be. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed, and as always, may your rolls always be natural ones, just not natural ones. Anyway, see you next time on D&D with Bard. Have a great day.